1.
How's the knee doing?
Pretty good.
Glad to hear it.
1.
Gave us quite a scare there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a big week for us.
I know.
The holidays, your injury. We've been away from Garbage Horror for a month now.
Wonder if anybody's missed us.
Nah. I guess we'll find out though. We gotta do something big this week though. We gotta come back strong.
Okay.
Whew. I don't know. We gotta do something epic. I'm trying to think.
Any ideas?
I don't know. Well, we've been talking about doing Fist of the Vampire for a while. Maybe it's time.
Sounds good. 1.
How the fuck you do that?
Do what?
You were here, then you're there, and that's not possible!
Yes, I've been here the whole time.
No, you were standing right here! I was punching You're holding a hand!
I thought.
Okay, look, we gotta focus. I don't know what the hell's going on. We gotta focus. This episode has to kick ass. We gotta show people we're back. Do something special. Make this really rock.
Have any ideas on how to do that?
Look, if we're gonna come back this week, we've got to do a real bang-up job. So I've decided to pull out all the stops. Will you fucking stop that? Oh, God. I'm trying to have a conversation with you.
And I've been here the whole time.
Then you were there, then you were here, and now you're back here, and your voodoo bullshit is making this impossible. I'm trying to talk to you, seriously, just for one moment.
Then talk to me.
Okay. Focus. Okay, look. This is an important episode. Been gone a month, right?
Yeah.
Follow me so far. Hurt knee, holidays, all that jazz. We're back now. Coming back, we're doing Fist of the Vampire. One of our least favorite movies of all time.
Top 5.
Yeah, top 5-ish. This is an important intro. We've got to do something spectacular, something awesome.
Okay.
So I've been working hard on this one. Pulled some strings, called some numbers. I managed to hire the guy who did the editing for Fist of the Vampire to come help us with our intro.
That might explain some of this.
Excuse me a second. I'll be right back. So, Crystal, your knee.
Yeah, it's doing good.
Good enough to help me move a body? He's kind of biggish. I don't think I can get this one on my own.
We'll see.
I know it's been 3 this year already, but I mean, come on, it's better than 2011.
Yeah. Well, we do have saws.
That is true. So what do you say? You go get the bandsaw, I'll go get the handsaw, and we'll meet back here in 5 minutes.
Sounds like a plan.
Bye.
Bye.
Hello everyone, I'm Jonathan.
I'm Crystal.
And this is Garbage Horror, episode number 18 for Fist of the Vampire. Yeah. Okay, I'm out of enthusiasm. I tried. That was a valiant effort.
Yeah.
Herculean in nature.
Especially considering this movie.
Yeah. This is not going to be our happiest of reviews, if you couldn't tell by the intro.
Yeah.
You know, this was one of the first truly garbage horrors we saw.
Right.
Way back a long time ago.
Right.
And we kind of thought maybe we'd been a little hard on it.
Mm-hmm.
That we've seen a lot worse since then, or seen other bad movies since. Maybe we just were skewed.
Yeah, we weren't.
No.
Fist of the Vampire is what happens when you take a cast that's largely wrestlers and porn stars.
And you have them doing non-wrestling, non-porn star-y things.
Right. So think about that for a minute.
We'll come back to that and focus more on that in just a minute.
Yeah.
But real quick, what happens in this movie? What brings this cast of wrestlers and porn stars together?
Well, it centers around a cop who's trying to bust an illegal fighting ring, an underground ring, and it's run by a group of vampires.
Of course, like every cop trying to bust an underground fighting ring movie, the best way to do it is to join the underground fighting ring.
Right.
And participate in the illegal activity.
Right.
Not merely place a bet or two and get the whole shit on tape. No. You gotta actually, gotta actually fight somewhere in there. I mean, otherwise it's gonna be a really boring movie.
Right. And this particular group of vampires, not the smartest or the stealthiest. They use really bad special effects to burn down houses. It's almost as bad as Birdemic.
Yeah.
They don't drain their victims all the way, so they make more genius vampires. Mm-hmm. And they kill their moneymakers. They're fighters on a whim.
Yeah, supposedly this whole operation aimed at somehow making money. I'm not exactly clear on what the profit scheme of a fighting ring is. I see a lot of money going to the fighters, but not a lot coming to them generally.
Right.
So I'm not sure what the system here is. And judging from the enthusiasm of the crowd and how they're dressed, I don't see them as big money bettors. Yeah. They look like people that drop $25 on a NASCAR race, not people betting hundreds of thousands of dollars on a fist fight. But I digress. It's a very bizarre setup for a movie, but I've got to come clean on this. Mm-hmm. I should love this movie.
Right.
Because right off the bat, it's got two people that I have deeply loved in other things they've done. The first is a gentleman by the name of Brian Heffron. If you don't know who that is, he's better known as the Blue Meanie. And if you don't know who that is, you probably were not an ECW fan in the 90s. Right. The Blue Meanie was a pretty big wrestler in that area. Mm-hmm. He was part of the Blue World Order. He was... two trademarks being his big, bushy, leprechaun-y blue beard and his big, stonking gut hanging out everywhere. He would team with like Stevie Richards and so forth, and he had a really good run there in ECW in the 90s. I was never a huge wrestling fan, but I was a very big ECW fan for a good time there. Mm-hmm. And let me tell you, Blue Meanie was right there at the top of my list. Loved everything he did. The second person I like and have loved in other work is Darian Kane.
Yes.
She is, to put it bluntly, as you did already, a porn star.
Yes. She,
and also best known from works in the 90s and the 2000s in this case, with her work with Seduction Cinema. Mm-hmm. They did a lot of softcore lesbian erotica stuff. Mm-hmm. A lot of the parody movies, Erotic Witch, Erotic Survivor, that type of stuff. And she always played herself in these movies. It was always tongue-in-cheek in other places. But I'm Tish. Yeah. I'm on fire, folks. And she always played the gothy, vampire-ish woman in those. She was always kind of the token goth babe.
Right. And,
hey, I like goth babes. What am I going to say? So I always liked Darian Kane. And here she is in this movie. Not as Darian Kane. Now, I want to put up a picture of Blue Meanie here.
Okay.
I want to get everyone thinking about something here. What in this guy screams vampire?
Not only that, but leader of the vampires.
Yeah, he is the lead villain in this movie. How much blood is this guy drinking? I mean, humanity is fucked if he's got enough blood in him to get that belly. I'm just saying, we're all dead. I mean...
It's not as prominent in this movie.
I grant, but the point is, he does not look anything like I would assume a vampire would. No. Nothing in this screams supernatural alpha predator to me.
No.
And then you got Darian Kane, who does look a lot like a stereotypical vampire.
And has played it
in other movies. And here she is, as a porn star, where most of her scenes either involve her trying to act or trying to do martial arts. Neither of which exist anywhere on her resume that I know of. It's a classic case of taking people who are good and in both their cases very good at things and having them do something else.
Right.
It's like NPR's Not My Job game became a movie. And it's just as bad of a clusterfuck. Nope. Best way to nail it down, good, bad, best, worst. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes.
Okay, The Good.
Oh, we agreed on this, actually.
We agreed!
Yeah. Because it was really difficult to find good things in this movie.
You gotta realize, when we do The Good, we're trying to find something that's generally good throughout the film.
Right.
That is tough in this film.
Yes. And what we came up with are the fight sequences.
Most of them.
Yes.
A lot of them, at least.
Yeah.
And the reason is this movie is staffed, as you mentioned, with a lot of professional wrestlers, not just Blue Meanie. No. The lead cop is a professional wrestler. Other people in this movie have had wrestling backgrounds. Mm-hmm. You've got a lot of people very, very well trained at fake combat.
Yeah.
And it shows in times.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like they could actually take a punch and
they're taking punches, throwing, and they're actually making it look pretty convincing. I see a Hurricane Rana at one point. Mm-hmm. You're seeing all that type of action. When they actually let the wrestlers wrestle and do what they're familiar with, it looks pretty good. Yeah. I mean, you can see why having wrestlers in an action movie makes sense.
Right.
This explains, like Steve Austin and other wrestlers that have made it in action. Mm-hmm. They can't act in those cases, and they can't act in this movie.
And they usually don't try.
They usually don't try. Here they actually try, and...
Right. I mean, usually they're the support character who's the action figure,
Or they're just, sort of the silent protagonist, sort of the Gordon Freeman of the movie, who barely says a word and just punches people. And that I can understand, too. Mm-hmm. If you want to see what happens when wrestlers try to act, go watch Suburban Commando with Hulk Hogan. You'll get the picture.
Yeah.
So we agree on that one completely. That takes us to the bad.
The bad. Oh.
Okay, there's a lot to go over here. You wanna start it off?
Sure. The use of green screen.
Yeah.
Is really bad.
This is confusing.
Yeah. Okay. I get the part where they're falling off of buildings being vampires.
Yeah.
I get why you need a green screen for that, maybe.
Yeah, well, we should get a green screen for that.
And I mean, it looks... They don't do it well. You can tell it's a green screen. But in other scenes where they're inside of a house...
Yeah.
They're inside of the house, and the house is a green screen.
Yeah, this is a classic... I think this is a classic case of they did a whole bunch of shots inside the house, then realized they needed a pickup shot. Mm-hmm. It was sort of like something the second unit would pick up on.
Right.
They need like a little pickup shot, and they go, crap, we forgot! Just have her in front of a green screen. We're done here.
Well, not only that, but I mean, some of the shots that use the green screen for the interior of buildings are scenes where the houses are going to burn.
Yeah.
Or there's going to be a lot of shit being broken.
Mm-hmm. And it gets very disorienting, the switching between the live action, in the house, on scene shooting, and the green screen, because it disorients you about the location of where things are happening in respect to the room.
Right.
It disorients you completely with where people are and what they're saying to each other.
Right.
It just throws off the continuity. The scene, what little continuity there is lost very quickly in that way.
Yeah.
And so, it's terrible, and they use it for some very crappy effects that are distracting and unnecessary.
Yeah, and some of the other scenes that they use it in, it looks like the people weren't even in the same room.
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple of times people are talking, and they're both in front of green screens, and like, blah, 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 and you're like, you two were nowhere near each other when that scene was shot. He showed up on a Monday, she on a Tuesday, and... It shows. Your responses to each other are completely unbelievable. And that's a simple scene to shoot inside. We do it all the time in our intros. Just get two people together, have them talk, shoot it with a camera. We shoot it with one camera even.
Right.
And we can usually make it work pretty easily. Mm-hmm. This is fundamentals. This is basic stuff here. And you're right. It looks terrible. And the abuse of the special effects throughout, too.
Yeah.
Both green screen and After Effects highlights that. And that brings me kind of to my bad, which is the overall editing in this movie. Okay, forget the green screen.
Okay.
Forget this bad special effects. I know that's hard, but we're going to try.
Yeah, because when, people punch people and fireworks come off and sparks, it's...
I think as you quipped once, that is vampire blood sparkling in the sunlight.
Yeah.
No, but it's distracting, but we got to go past it for a minute, because even if you discount those elements... There are times where the audio is unintelligible because actors are mumbling their lines and the volume is not turned up adequately. Mm-hmm. There are times the shots are just too dark. Mm-hmm. You can't see what the fuck is going on.
Right. In fact, the first copy of this, we couldn't see or hear half of the movie, which was probably a good thing.
We actually own 3 copies of this, unfortunately, because it keeps showing up on those 8-packs we get. But anyways, that's a digression. But no, you have that problem. And then you have the issue of these scenes are edited so poorly as to be confusing as hell.
Yeah.
Person A, person B, where are they? They're chasing. How are they in relation to each other? You can't tell. Mm-hmm. You've got no idea what's going on there. How many times in this movie did we say, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah.
Characters pop into scenes randomly. Characters switch to the other side of the room randomly. Continuity is non-existent in this film.
Right.
It will make your head hurt. This movie was edited with a fucking chainsaw.
Yeah.
It's just, ugh. Let's go to the best before I get too worked up.
So you don't want to talk about shaky cam either?
Oh, no. Well, there are several scenes with the, just buy a fucking Steadicam!
Yeah.
That's it. Sorry. We're done on that conversation.
Okay, so my best is the unidentified lieutenant. He's the.
I don't want to say unidentified. I think they did give him a name. I just don't think we cared enough to remember it.
Probably. Well, he's the lieutenant.
He's the lieutenant character.
So the other two cops they come to him and they say, we think that we're dealing with vampires.
We kind of have reason to believe Coffins, Virgin Dale. We think we got reasons to believe they're vampires. Yeah. Making their case.
So he quips, well, what am I supposed to do? Call Count Chocula?
Funny line.
Yeah.
Well delivered. This lieutenant, I think, actually was probably the best actor in the movie.
Yeah, it's too bad he only had like 3 scenes.
Yeah, he was like in it for about 30 seconds. I believe we could have counted it on a stopwatch.
Yeah.
How long he was in the film. That was a good line, good delivery. He was actually overall pretty good in the film himself. My favorite scene, Darian Kane. Going back to her. Okay. Boobs. Obviously, get that out of the way. Right. Naked Darian Kane always makes a scene better.
Yeah.
But this is what I'm talking about with having people who are good at things do the things they're good at. Mm-hmm. Darian Kane's background expertise comes from lesbian erotica. Love it or hate it, that's what she's best at. Mm-hmm. She does a scene that would fit in very well with any of those movies. Mm-hmm. It's superfluous. It's not necessary in any way in the movie. It kind of comes out of nowhere.
Right.
But it's a very well done scene. Can't show much of it, but it's very, very well done. And I've got to say, that's what I'm talking about with having people do what they're best at.
Right.
The worst.
The worst.
Ooh, this is tough, isn't it?
Okay. Well, for mine, when there's a big fight at a drug dealer's house.
Yeah.
I think it's a drug dealer. I'm not really sure.
This is one of those characters they introduced without... They might have said something, but the audio editing was so terrible we couldn't hear it.
Right.
They saw some random hippie-style drug dealer.
Yeah.
And shit hit the fan.
Yeah. So, after the house is cleared out of the vampires and everybody else, the two cops are there. Mm-hmm. Well, the female cop was hiding in the closet watching the lesbian scene. Yeah, that's how we get to see it from her perspective. Yeah. She calls somebody. Mm-hmm. And you think at this point that it's the other undercover cop.
And, I mean, they look similar enough.
Right.
It's lighted poorly enough. Audio's terrible enough to the point you can't distinguish voices. Right. And she just talked to the guy like a few minutes before. So it's a natural conclusion.
Right. So that's who she's calling to come meet him at this house, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So he gets there and apparently, they're confused by who they are. And then she had called this lieutenant guy and this is his first meeting and he just shows up out of nowhere. Because he, wasn't there, and then he is, and...
This is, one of the worst examples of this movie, of the editing and the way people just popped in randomly.
Yeah.
And that kind of takes me to my worst. Mm-hmm. The first 10 minutes of this movie. It's completely superfluous. It's unnecessary in every regard in this film. Yes, it is a plot point for later in the film, but it was an unnecessary plot point. No. There was no reason to have it. But okay, basically the movie opens on a random dude who we've never met, witnessing a bunch of vampires attacking a woman we've never met in an alley that we have no idea where it is. Mm-hmm. They chase him. He runs home for some stupid reason. Yeah. Because, that's the place to lead the criminals. And then they proceed to kill the family, torch the house, and do all kinds of messed up stuff. And basically, it's 10 minutes of vampires beating up helpless people.
Right.
And it's boring as hell because the fight sequence with the father figure seems to go on forever. And it's pretty much entirely just him getting the crap kicked out of him. It's like watching the Broncos versus the Patriots.
Although, the mom being felt up by Darian Kane, the good housewife, was pretty funny.
Was pretty interesting, but what made this sequence so terrible, in addition to being boring, it could have been shortened by about 5 minutes very easily. If it's going to be an intro sequence, it should have been a lot shorter. But what made it truly bad was this was the epitome of the bad editing. Bad audio throughout, bad video throughout. They overlaid this 70s era filter over it, which just obscured everything. You couldn't see crap because they didn't make any effort to make it look like the 70s. any other way.
Well, no. I mean, the clothes weren't from the 70s.
No.
And also, we've seen movies from the 70s. They don't have this effect on them.
No.
You would have to go back to like the 30s or something to get this kind of bad effect.
Yeah, 40s and 50s maybe. It looked more like they were going for sepia than...
Right.
Because the 70s movies,
they're
very...
And the scratches.
Yeah, the 70s movies are very bright and very colorful.
Right.
I mean, in fact, that's the problem. They're kind of too bright and too colorful.
Right.
It's almost trippy. This movie goes for more of a sepia thing, and it's like... Because you can't see what's going on. And we don't know who these people are. We don't know what's going on. They don't explain what's going on. And it doesn't really come into play until the very, very end. And even then, the explanation is very poor. Mm-hmm. So it's unnecessary. And it to me, is the apex of what's wrong with this film. Mm-hmm. And that's what I try to highlight with my worst. There you go.
Yep. The
worst of the film for me. All in all, look, if you buy those 8 and 20 movie packs at Walmart, you probably already own this film. I don't encourage picking it up, and we have some bad news because Curse of the Wolf features the exact same cast and production company, and there's about 5 other films, all by the same group.
I'm hoping that maybe this was the first one and they get
Nope.
better. Crap.
This was actually second. Curse of the Wolf, I believe, was first. I'll have to check the IMDb, but I'm pretty sure of that one. So, any final thoughts on Fist of the Vampire before we check out?
You want to give any recommendations?
Oh, recommendations.
Or is there anybody you would recommend this to?
Yeah, I forgot the recommendations.
It's been a while since we've done this.
Yeah, it's been a month. Sorry, guys. Her knee's better, by the way.
Yeah.
Recommendations.
Don't watch it. That's pretty much it. That's my recommendation. Don't watch it. Don't torture yourself or anybody else with it. It's not that kind of movie. It's not fun. There.
I don't care if you're a fan of the Blue Meanie, go back and watch old ECW. That's where he's at his best. If you're a fan of Darian Kane, look, I got a whole cabinet. No, I don't have that. I might have 1 or 2 of her other films that are much better.
Yes. One of which we mentioned earlier.
Yes, we did. Actually, mentioned 2 of them earlier.
Yeah.
But so she has literally a videography, longer than our notes for this film. Right. Watching any of those,
and it's a lot better to see the portions of her in those films than in this.
Because they also do the sepia thing and obscure it, so they still have to kind of mess with it there too. All in all, I don't see any good reason to watch this other than if you want a case study in how not to edit and structure a film. I think as a film student, you might actually gain a lot from watching this because it's a lot of what not to do.
That's probably very true.
That fair?
Yeah.
Well, on that note, everyone, I'm Jonathan.
I'm Crystal.
And this was Garbage Horror, episode number 18 for Fist of the Vampire. Now, can we do a good movie next week?
I hope so.
I hope so, too. We'll see you next week. Okay, look. This is a big episode, right?
Yeah.
We're coming back hard. We're doing Fist of the Vampire, one of our least favorite movies of all time.
I know.
So this intro is super important to me. And I know to you, too.
Yeah.
We gotta get a leg up on this one. Couldn't.